What happens when you take a man who doesn't even know what electricity is and throw him into a world where technology is a literal god? Meet Kaelen, born in the 14th century but forced to survive in the year 2526. They called him a glitch until he did the unthinkable. He did not belong to this sky. His lungs were born for the crisp, pine-scented air of the 14th century highlands, where the only transition of time was the gentle rising and setting of a golden sun. But today, as his heavy eyelids forced themselves open, he wasn't greeted by the morning light. He was blinded by neon. His name was Kaelen, a master hunter from a forgotten era. A man who could trace a wolf across miles of barren rock just by the bent of a single blade of grass. But as he looked down at his hands, still covered in the dirt of 1,000 years ago, he realized the earth under him was entirely gone. It was replaced by a seamless, cold, pulsating metal floor. This was Neo-Vanguard, the year 2526. A world where nature had been systematically eradicated and technology reigned as the supreme, undisputed god. He breathed in, but the air felt mechanical, filtered, and dead. The sheer scale of the glowing towers reaching into the clouds made him feel microscopic. He was a biological ghost wandering in a synthetic graveyard. In his right hand, Kaelen held a simple wooden bow, its leather grip worn down by years of honest survival. It was a holy relic of human history, but to the citizens of Neo-Vanguard, it was just a primitive joke. To them, Kaelen was a glitch, an ancient anomaly wandering through the neon-lit alleyways of a society that had outgrown the need for flesh and bone. He tried to call out. He reached his hand out toward a passing stranger, asking for food, for water, for any sign of human recognition, but no one saw him, no one heard him. The people of this advanced world didn't speak with vocal cords anymore. Their minds were constantly plugged into a collective neural network, exchanging infinite data streams through glowing cybernetic implants behind their ears. Kaelen was completely invisible simply because he didn't have a digital pulse. He was standing in the very epicenter of infinite energy, surrounded by skyscrapers that could power nations, yet he was dying of an ancient, simple human hunger. He was a man completely outside of time, abandoned by history. Desperation eventually forced the hunter to adapt. He found a discarded security weapon lying near a heavy metallic crate in the shadows. It hummed with plasma energy, glowing with a sleek blue light. Kaelen reached out, his calloused fingers gripping the cold polymer handle. But the moment his skin made contact, the weapon violently rejected him. A sharp digital chime echoed through the alley as the weapon's display screen flashed a bright, aggressive red warning. Access denied, biometric mismatch. The gun's internal AI scanned his DNA and found no citizen registration, no digital footprint, no barcode. The safety lock remained unbroken. Kaelen dropped the useless metal, his heart hammering against his ribs in absolute frustration. Even the tools of this world were hostile to him. Moments later, the city's automated security systems flagged his presence. Overhead, drones began circling, their red scanning lasers painting his tattered fur clothing in glowing targets. The robotic security sirens began to wail, driving the primitive intruder away from the clean upper sectors and forcing him deep down into the forbidden, quarantined belly of the metropolis. The security drones pushed him into the deep quarantine zone, a massive, enclosed artificial ecosystem known to the locals as the cyber jungle. It was a colossal testing ground where mega-corporations unleashed their latest military warfare experiments. It looked like a forest from a distance, but up close it was a terrifying monument to artificial life. The trees were pillars of black iron, their branches made of braided fiber optic cables that pulsed with dangerous currents of electricity. The leaves above weren't organic, they were shifting, translucent digital holograms that rustled with a static hiss whenever the artificial wind blew. The ground beneath Kaelen's feet was a grid of cold, steel plates. This artificial wilderness was the exclusive hunting ground of the Apex 7, a horrifying biomechanical predator engineered specifically to track, adapt, and eliminate. High above, in their sterile, climate-controlled sky lounges, the wealthy elite of the city poured glasses of synthetic wine, looking down through massive glass floors. They placed their digital bets, eager to see how many seconds this ancient, primitive intruder would last against the apex of modern warfare. The mechanical beast did not hunt like a real wolf. It didn't have a scent, it didn't breathe, and its carbon fiber claws left no physical footprints on the steel floorboards. Within minutes, Kaelen was cornered. His primitive wooden arrows bounced uselessly off the predator's armored plating. The machine struck him down, its metallic weight throwing him hard against an iron root, leaving him bleeding and gasping for air in the foggy darkness. Lying there, bruised and broken, Kaelen closed his eyes. The elite operators watching from the high towers smiled, believing the simulation was over. But they didn't know the mind of a true hunter. Kaelen wasn't giving up. He was doing something that no citizen of the 26th century had done in hundreds of years. He was completely silencing his mind and listening. He realized that while the machine had no biological heartbeat, it still obeyed the laws of physics. It had a frequency. It emitted a subtle hum of electrical heat. It displaced the heavy cybernetic air whenever it lunged. The iron trees vibrated just a fraction of a second before the beast shifted its weight. The future had completely forgotten that technology is bound by rigid, predictable logic. But human survival? Survival is guided by untamable instinct. Kaelen stood up, moving completely in tune with the rhythm of the machine's vibrations. He smeared the cold, black synthetic grease of a broken drone across his face and neck, effectively cloaking his biological heat signature from the predator's infrared sensors. He became an invisible ghost within the metal forest. He didn't try to outrun the machine's speed, he outwitted its programming. Using his profound understanding of weight, tension, and structural balance, Kaelen rigged a primitive trap using a heavy discarded power cable and the natural weight of a loose, hanging steel canopy overhead. When the Apex 7 lunged forward into his bait, Kaelen sliced the anchor wire with his hunting knife. With a deafening roar of twisting metal, tons of iron structure collapsed directly onto the predator, crushing its titanium spine and short-circuiting its core energy reserves. High in the sky lounges, the digital screens went completely silent. The billionaires dropped their controllers in absolute disbelief. A man born from the mud, armed with nothing but wood and ancient wisdom, had just systematically dismantled the ultimate artificial intelligence of the 26th century. Kaelen stepped out of the smoking ruins of the cyber jungle, looking up at the fake holographic sky. He was still trapped in a foreign time. He was still entirely alone. But he was no longer a glitch in their system. He was the living proof that the human spirit is the one technology that can never be replaced, never be coded away, and will always find a way to survive.